Hey guys, it's CALLOUS. Welcome. We are in the final semifinal match for CALLOUS Invitational 5 play-ins. It is the Aqua bracket, and it is Trainer Orange on the bottom. That is, of course, my good buddy JabbaTheGriffin against Sadlysius on the top, who has also been a good buddy to me and a helper of this tournament for a couple of years. This is an anticipated set. Can't wait to see how it all plays out. And Jabba leading with a Hariyama, which is not a poke that I can recall him using. I mean, that's not to say that he never has or whatever, just it's not coming to my mind. That seems like a not very Jabba-esque Pokemon. He landed a nice turn 1 knockoff on Skarm, that's always good. We have a Zapdos here that immediately BP's out, and he's going to go to his own Skarm, so it looks like Jabba's going to get some spikes down as well. So they both have Skarm Zap. Hey, those are good Pokemon. I don't blame ya. Protect to see what's up, and he goes for Roar. Good to know about. I don't know that it changes anything here. Skarm, even knowing that's there, still can't stay in. And good thing he didn't. I would have gone for Roar again, I think, if I'm Sadly. I don't love that Thunderbolt, but I get why he did it. Doll gets a rapid spin off after eating Hidden Power. That could be Grass or Ice. We don't know. Either one. Super effective against Doll. And in comes a Bliss. So this looks very stally for Jabba, which is not generally his style, but yeah, this definitely looks to be more on the defensive side. And he's got a Calm Mind Bliss here that we haven't seen much of in this tour, or just in general, really. Decides to pull it back. It actually would have been an awesome time to attack there, disrupting Focus Punch, but obviously I can understand why he didn't. It's non-CB Focus Punch, however, so he can change it up and do something else. Jabba 10 turns in has already revealed his whole team, which isn't ideal. But very stally squad for him, and definitely changing it up. Maybe worried about getting counter-teamed, counter-styled, whatever, by Sadly. This is very much not the kind of team that I'm used to seeing Jabba play. Probably just a recover coming from Milo. I mean, T-Tar could go for Focus Punch again, so Jabba might be considering going for Surf here, but I mean, that carries the risk of the T-Tar simply staying in and going for something else, like a Rock Slide. But it is just recover, and in comes Bliss for Sadlysius. Here's Skarm, and that's going to eat an S-Toss. No problem. Of note, Sadlysius doesn't seem to have a spinner, so any spikes that come down, Sadlysius, I believe, is going to have to deal with. At least it's looking that way. Jabba we know as a spinner, though he did take some chip damage from the Zapdos on the other end. But right now they both have 2 layers. Here's a Bliss switch. And a nice little Drill Peck on the way in for 25%. Not amazing, but not bad. Can BP out here to get Skarm in for the 3rd layer if he wants. Could also go to Hariyama here. Does go to the Skarm. And, I mean, the real question becomes, does Sadly have a Last Poke spinner? Claydol, Starmie, whatever. If not, then it's pretty good to establish all 3 layers this early. I mean, we know at least 3 out of the 5 pokes for Sadly are going to have to step on him. So that's obviously good. The question is, does Jabba have any way to close the game? He's got a Calm Mind Bliss that we haven't seen attacks from, but you would think it's probably just Bolt Beam, right? Most common set. And then I guess you have the Zapdos that's got to be something offensive, right? I mean, he's Drill Peck, so BP Drill Peck, gonna have T-Bolt, and then Hidden Power, Grass or Ice. Depending on how fast that is, that could put some pressure on. Blissey obviously is going to wall the Zapdos, but the Drill Pecks aren't too bad at 25%, and then Bliss does have to step on the spikes every time. It's going to be interesting. It really depends on the last poke for Sadly. If it's something like a Salamence or an Aerodactyl, Gengar, that kind of thing, it really depends. But there are walls for Jabba for the special threats, Blissey being a big one, though she does have to worry about Roar every time. I think I misspoke earlier, Endor just misremembered. I think I said that Sadly has 2 layers down. I forgot about the Rapid Spin, so he actually, I think, only just has the 1 layer down right now. But Jabba's got all 3. Here's Bliss trying to not get roared out, but she does get roared out. Hariyama comes in, is interesting. We know it as knockoff. It may or may not have something like Rock Slide here. It also might just eat a Thunderbolt. I wonder, if I'm Jabba, I might go to Claydol here. Blissey, I don't know that I love because you might just get roared. Alright, Thunderbolt isn't so bad. He can just soft-boiled here. I think Claydol would have been even better, but Blissey's fine because you get the soft-boiled in. But the problem is that it does prompt in T-Tar here, and you have to figure out what to do from here. We know it is Focus Punch, so Sadlysius with an opportunity here to get momentum. Here's Milo, and it is Rock Slide instead, which does, I mean, comparable damage to what Focus Punch would have done. It leaves the Milo at 55, and we again have this exact same 50-50. Is the Milo going to recover here into a Focus Punch? This time the answer is yes. Surf obviously could disrupt that if he predicts it, so the mind game is going to happen back and forth a couple of times. And he does recover again instead of surfing, which turns out to be the right play. Surfing into the Zapdos there wouldn't have been that exciting. If the Zapdos didn't have Roar, then this would be easily negated for a long time for Jabba by the Bliss and the Doll. But the fact that it does have Roar makes it tricky while that one spike is there. The Roar doesn't matter if you can just go to Blissey over and over again. But with the one spike, there is some residual damage that sadly is taking advantage of. And obviously Jabba's got all 3 layers down that we still don't know if Sadly can deal with. Totally could be Last Poke, Doll, or Starmie, whatever. It could also, I could see something like Arachi, an Aerodactyl, Salamence I mentioned earlier. We'll see. We've got a little bit of a pause here. Pretty quick game so far, but sadly the one taking the time right now as he figures out what to do. He obviously has the advantageous matchup against the Milo here. I think if I'm Sadly, I would probably Roar here, but I don't hate Thunderbolting. The problem with Thunderbolt is that if Bliss comes in, it just, where do you go from there? Especially if it's a CM Bliss, you would think that it's probably Max Modest, so like Max Modest Ice Beam, should Zapdos try to stay in, would probably hurt a lot. You obviously don't want to take that. Yeah, sadly figuring it out. Been over a minute. Doubles back to Skarm. Alright, so Bliss is also interesting. If it is Max Modest Bolt Beam, that is also in danger here. Toxic, what he goes for. Oh, Flamethrower. Is this... Okay, well, it's not Bolt Beam, because it can only have one more attack. Is this Flamethrower HP Grass? That's an old set if he has that, which is... I don't know if that's a great set in general, to be honest. A lot of people really don't like it, but it... I don't know, against TSS in this matchup, it might actually be good. If it is Flamethrower HP Grass, I mean... T-Tar hates that, especially coming in on spikes. Swampert hates that, especially coming in on spikes. That, that set might be decent in this matchup. It still beats the Zapdos. Interesting sequence here. So they exchange T-Bolts, but Sadly's faster. Now Blissey comes in. I would love to see a Roar here. There we go. Sadly pulls the trigger and makes the right play there. I'm surprised Jabba, again, didn't go to Claydol here. I get that he's afraid of getting it hidden powered. He could, again, go to Doll or Blissey here. It's just a prediction game, but it's sadly with the momentum. But it's also sadly standing to get donked if he's wrong. Like, if Jabba were to stay in Thunderbolt here and sadly goes Roar again, Zapdos just dies for sadly. And he goes hidden power thinking it was going to be Doll. So sadly got a little bit of momentum there, but he's going to lose it here because, again, Blissey will get a soft-boiled off here, like it or not, and T-Tar comes in. Should feel pretty safe, even if it is HP Grass as the last move for the Bliss, because ultimately, unboosted, it just still wouldn't do that much. Focus Punch connects with Milo here, 44%, which is pretty close to what it's been doing. There is the one spike down, so Milo in a little bit more danger, but still should be able to recover here, and there is a spinner from Sadlysius in the back. Full teams now revealed for both players. Nothing can prevent Rapid Spin here. We know there's no Ghost. If Rapid Spin's going to happen, Rapid Spin's going to happen. Jabba here could take the opportunity to go to Bliss, to go to Zapdos. Opts for the Blissey. I don't know that I love this on his end because it's kind of do nothing. I think I would have followed up with Zapdos instead. The problem with doing this is, like, even if your prediction is exactly right, what are you hitting here? That's kind of the bigger problem that I'm running into. Like, let's say it is last move HP Grass. Even if you do click HP Grass against Tyranitar here, what is it? I mean, he's at 82. What does it do? 30 about? It's better than nothing. It just, I don't know. I mean, maybe he just brought it into soft-boiled. Maybe he just would feel way better with Blissey at a hundo. But you know that the T-Tar is almost certainly about to come in for Sadly. Yeah, and he does chunk him there with Hidden Power Grass. That is the last move. So old school set here. Gonna do 31% to the T-Tower, which, I mean, it's not nothing. If the T-Tower didn't have lefties, I'd be a lot more excited about the chip damage. But man, Jabba's been repeatedly unable to call him out on those focus punch turns. Sadly, in general, has been the bolder player in this set. He's repeatedly taken risks. He put his Zapdos in harm's way earlier to get a good roar off. He's focus punched multiple times into the Bliss, which at any time could just get him with that HP Grass. But sadly, he's taking the chances and playing more proactively. He's willing to take good risks, and Jabba playing very defensively. He doesn't seem totally comfortable with this kind of team. I mean, I get it. It's really hard to stay in and make certain plays, especially when there's a lot of consequences if you're not right. But yeah, he's gotten called out a couple of times. He's been unable to call Sadly's bluff. And we're in this exact same position again. Every time Milo goes for a cover on a focus punch turn, it's basically a wasted turn, and it's a crit opportunity, and the T-Tar gets lefties back. You obviously don't want to surf here if you're Milo, only to get devastated by Rock Slide, so it's a tough position for Jabba to be in. And he again opts for the switching route and the recover. So Jabba has really gotten bailed in this specific sequence on multiple occasions, but man, he's got to be stressing out. He's got to be really feeling like it's a matter of time until things turn around. He gets Claydol in on a Thunderbolt, which is pretty ideal. Question is, does he want to eat the Hidden Power to get Rapid Spin off? And we see here the answer is yes. He thinks that's a worthwhile trade. So he gets a 5% Rapid Spin off. Damage may or may not matter there. I don't think it's a rest Zapdos. He pulls back at this point. It's interesting. Skarm can reestablish the spikes, but we know that Blissey has Flamethrower. He could Calm Mind here, actually. And then at +1, I guess that's actually not very good. It's a lot better when there were spikes down before. He doesn't actually beat the opposing Blissey now is the problem. He needs to keep the opposing spikes down in order to be able to get through the other Bliss. Then again, if it's a non-toxic Blissey for Sadlysius, then maybe Jabba's Blissey actually does eventually win. Goes Flamethrower again. She's shown only S-Toss soft-boiled. If hypothetically last moves were like Ice Beam Wish, for example, and there is Ice Beam, then maybe Jabba actually can set up Bliss on Bliss and just try to get there with a crit. Obviously, HP Grass, not an exciting move, even at +6, to be using against another Blissey, but yeah, with crits or burns or whatever, maybe he can get there. The CM Bliss actually does seem like a legit threat. It beats the Starmie, it beats the Swampert. Under the right circumstances, it can beat the T-Tower. It's interesting. This can really go either way. Jabba going to have to be intelligent and patient here. We know, of course, since it's a Calm Mind Bliss, that his own Bliss doesn't have Wish, so he's not going to be able to pass that to things like Claydol in particular right now that could really use the health back. So Claydol getting low seems to be the weakest link for Jabba. Sadly, he's been good at chipping away at that when he gets a chance. One layer of spikes does come down, and there's Skarm. Immediately whirlwinded out. Good play, wrong result, unfortunately. Getting the Starmie in is not what he wanted. If he could have whirlwinded out, say, like the T-Tar or the Swampert there, or hell, maybe even the Blissey, that would have been good, but that's not what occurs. However, Jabba does get the Blissey in on a Thunderbolt, which is good. He gets an unlucky para, but he can still threaten with HP Grass here, and he does exactly that. That's going to prompt the Starmie out. I'm not sure how much Jabba wants to push his luck with the paralyzed Blissey here. He totally could Flamethrower, but obviously full para could kick in here. This is a tricky turn. I mean, Sadly doesn't have spikes down right now. He obviously wants to reestablish them, but from Jabba's end, do you chance it? Do you Flamethrower potentially into the other Bliss here, into the T-Tar here? With the para, do you chance that you just do nothing? It's hard to go to Zapdos here if you're Jabba, because you know that there's Toxic on the other side. His doll we haven't actually seen, but if it's refreshed, that might be a good switch in here. If it's not refreshed, you obviously don't want that to get hit with Toxic either. And now doll is against T-Tar. Interesting. I mean, we know it's not going to be Crunch Pursuit, so if Doll's not happy, he can get out of here, but he also could stay in an EQ which he does, and that's huge. T-Tar Focus Punch disrupted here by the Earthquake. A misstep from Sadlysius. Now the T-Tar very low. That almost killed him there. That might be an Adamant Doll. Now all of a sudden T-Tar at just 9% and dead to a spike should it come in on it. Big mistake there from Sadlysius. I'm surprised. I thought that Earthquake was relatively obvious, but maybe he thought Jabba's Doll would be slower and afraid of HP Bug, which is why he pulled the trigger on Focus Punch there. And Jabba obviously goes for the Earthquake again. That might be a 252 doll, as some people run. That might be an Adamant Doll, which would make me think that it's not refreshed. That would make me think that it's the Explosion variant. He goes Milo here into Swampert. Ice Beam, no big deal, as long as he doesn't freeze, which he does not. But can he capitalize now with Milo? He would need, I think, Toxic or Ice Beam or something to make a play here. Otherwise, the Starmie would be safe, and we know the Starmie has Thunderbolt. The Blissey would be safe. He's going to need Ice Beam and or Toxic in order to force momentum here. Just goes for Surf, gets Ice Beam back. Sadly fishing for a freeze that he doesn't find this time either. Swampert down to 48%. Momentum starting to shift the way of Jabba. He's not able to predict the protect, and get a recover in. Here's Bliss, and now he gets the recover off. Seismic Toss, Soft-Boiled, Ice Beam. Don't know the last move. I suspect that it's Wish. Here's Hariyama. Ice Beam again. Sadly, he's been throwing a lot of Ice Beams out there. He must not be thrilled with his position in this match. He's been repeatedly fishing for freezes. Remember that who got it knocked off? I'm trying to remember myself. Skarmory is the guy without the lefties. He got them knocked off before. So, Sadly does have the option to go to Skarm again, so something else doesn't get knocked off, but then he might just get brick breaked out of here. And he's going to fodder off the T-Tar here, so 58 turns it takes, but Jabba does get the advantage with the first knockout as T-Tar fodders itself to the spikes. Zapdos doubling back to Bliss. Yeah, I don't love that either because Scum doesn't have lefties and it would have to eat a flamethrower here if it stayed in. I thought Zapdos was always going to prompt out the Bliss here, so I think that double doesn't really accomplish anything because Jabba's still fine with the matchup that results. Sadly seems to be crumbling here. It looked like he was doing well and making bold plays earlier on, but it's really starting to turn around here. I really like Jabba's position in this game at this point, and the Swampert doesn't scare me at all. You can just go to Milo here. He's actually going to get him with Flamethrower, which is interesting. I don't know what he was anticipating there. I guess probably the Zapdos, right? It's the only way the Flamethrower makes sense. And he goes Soft-Boiled here. I don't think you need to be that afraid of the Zapdos, though. I mean, I think you could just go to Doll and just live with the fact that there's one layer of spikes down, but Jabba does even better than that. He's just going to stay in. He doesn't give a shit about the poison at all. And Sadlysius thought Claydol was coming in. He went for Hidden Power, but that is not what occurred. Jabba in fantastic shape in this game one. 48% doesn't matter. He can just set up later against the Starmie or the other Bliss. If I'm Jabba here, I would switch every time to either Zapdos or Milo, and I think he's in fantastic shape. Ice Beam has to happen if you're Sadly. You need freezes or nonsense to get back into this game. And there is a freeze. He very much needs that. Sadly is so behind right now, it is not even funny. He must catch something like that to catch up. And he does. He finds the freeze on Milo. Question is, will it thaw? Ironically, with Marvel Scale now, it's going to tank Swampert hits for a long time. Earthquake that, buddy boy. He could have, of course, switched to the Starmie and start threatening with T-Bolts. Blissey's at, I think, 51? 48, actually. Man, that Hydro Pump is pathetic. 14% that does to the Milo. That's nothing. And now Earthquake, 17%. I mean, if we're going down this road, Milo's going to have a lot of opportunities to thaw. Whether he does or not, I couldn't tell you, but he's going to have quite a few chances. He's already had 3, and I think he gets 2 more. Nope. Okay. Last chance. Milo will die if he can't thaw here. Going to switch it back to Skarm on what he thinks is going to be an Earthquake. That is incorrect. Hydro Pump. Good switch up there from Sadlysius. Now what do? Do you risk getting hit with Toxic if you're Sadlysius here to get another Hydro Pump off? Alternatively, I mean, do you switch to one of your natural cure pokes anticipating Toxic? only to get whirlwinded away. Sadlysius is going to have to play this late game perfectly to catch up here, because Jabba just feels miles and miles ahead. The Combine Bliss a real issue now for Sadlysius, given what's left. And it's Sadly again taking the time. 30 seconds left as he figures it out. This is tough. I mean, he's in such a hole. It's obviously way easier to play and to justify taking risks when it's an even game or when you're ahead. But Sadlysius not only behind, but like really far behind in my view. The margin for error is pretty much gone. You've got to get this right. And an unlucky Toxic miss for Jabba. That is unfortunate timing. Toxic there would have put some pressure on the Scarm. I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think it completely turns the game around, but nevertheless, I do think that hurts Jabba. The question now, what is Milo at? He can't fodder it, unfortunately, to the spike. If he could fodder Milo, I think this would be a good opportunity, and then you go to Zapdos here, but he can't. He goes Protect on an Ice Beam. So I think it's an off-star. I think it's last move Hydro Pump here. I think it's a non-recover Starmie, so that actually makes the Toxic miss even worse because every bit of chip damage would really, really matter. And here's the Milo that he's going to try to fodder anyway. So that's going to die with the Spike plus the Sand. The key thing is that Rapid Spin did not get off here. That gets Sadlysius on the board, so it brings us to a 5-3 situation. And now Jabba follows up with Scarm again. Gotta be feeling pretty safe. I mean, you could Toxic here with not much to worry about. Crit Hydro Pump is the only thing, or I guess a Freeze, another Freeze from the Swampert Ice Beam. Those are really the only things that can ruin your day here. Otherwise, you can click Toxic and not worry too much. This is a winnable game for Sadlysius. It's not over, but Jabba definitely in the favorable position here. Should win this game from this spot the large majority of the time, even after getting his Milo frozen. I like Jabba's spot here for sure. And it is again Sadlysius taking the time. And it's going to be Blissey getting hit with the Toxic. We still haven't seen her last move, but I mean, assuming it's not Thunderbolt, which seems really unlikely to me, she's really not that big of a threat to the Starmie. I don't know that I love the Spike there. I think I would have gone for Toxic again, but I think he went for Spikes, thinking that was going to be a Thunderbolt turn, so I get why he made the play, but I think Toxic is a better play. Nevertheless, any chip on the Starmie helps. There's Rapid Spin, and I don't love that Whirlwind either. If you're staying in, I think you go for Toxic, but I still think it'll be okay. Here's the Starmie. Another miss on the Toxic. Jabba's got to be getting frustrated. I hope he doesn't tilt. He is tilt prone sometimes. He's going to eat a Thunderbolt, and now he finally lands the Toxic. Again, it doesn't matter in the long term because obviously Natural Cure is going to make it go away, but where it does matter is the fact that it's a non-recover Starmie. Presumably, I mean, it could theoretically be last move recover, but that's a real weird set, and he would have recovered already. I'm almost positive it's just going to be last move Hydro Pump. Could be Psychic, could be recover, whatever, but I'm almost certain, 95% certain that it's just going to be last move Hydro Pump. Which, of course, he's not going to show here, but Jabba wins the prediction war this game. Starmie getting really low. Out it goes. And Spikes come down. That was a great play from Jabba. Now the Starmie is really in trouble next time it comes in. The Swampert is a minor threat for Jabba, especially with its main counter, the Milotic down. Ice Beam fishing for freezes again because, well, kind of have to. Those Spikes are going to leave the Starmie, I believe, dead. Spikes plus Sand will kill the Starmie when it comes in, so sadly going to have to finish this game off with 2 Mons effectively. Fishing for a freeze that he really, really needs. His Swampert afflicted with Toxic as well, and we've seen the full set. That doesn't have refresh either. It looks like he's going to be stalled out here. It's going to be Blissey against the world, and that doesn't seem that exciting when there's a Hariyama on the other side, which hasn't actually shown a fighting move, but you've got to think he's got something. Cross Chop, Brick Break, Focus Punch, whatever. This looks overwhelmingly... It looks over at this point. I mean, Jabba I thought was really ahead before, but now I think it's over. I think any window that sadly had to come back is gone. Hariyama coming in on Bliss is going to make life really hard. assuming it does actually have some kind of fighting move. He's going to need a freeze here, and he gets it, but he thaws instantly and brick breaks. 53, big chunk to Blissy's face. Going to need another freeze here or a crit. Here's the ice beam. Doesn't find it. There's brick break, and that has got to be game over. Swampert here is not going to be able to do it. It's poisoned. We know there's HP Grass on the other side from Blissey. We know there's Protect on the other side from Skarm. Even if the Zapdos doesn't have HP Grass, he would be able to poison stall him out here. Sadly knows it, and he is going to concede game one. Jabba opting to change it up and bring something that I have never seen him bring. I mean, I've seen him use like Skarm before, Bliss before, but this is really out of left field for Jabba. The Hariyama Claydol Milotic team, very unlike him. Probably catches Sadly off guard as well, but it seemed Jabba, I think, had a good matchup here. The CM Bliss seemed really good. The Milo, save the Zap, seemed very hard to kill. The Hariyama seemed really annoying for Sadlysius and just for TSS teams in general. I think Jabba really did his homework here and brought a team that I thought matched up very well against this team and against what I would say are stereotypical Sadlysius teams as in general. I think Jabba caught him off guard and really set himself up with a good matchup here. So props to him. This is not what I would have expected. Jabba, very much known as an offensive player. He has a huge Zap, Metagross, Celebi, Swampert, hard-on. He brings those pokes in like every game, but changing it up here and reaping the rewards. He is 1-0 on Sadlysius, who looked very, very good and impressive last week in his victory over Teclis. Jabba's just going to have to win one of the two, next game or potential game 3, in order to be in the bracket finals playing for a main event spot. And you guys should know who he's going to be against as well. I'm going to spoil it in a minute, so this is a good time right now. I'm giving you a heads up to mute this if you don't already know. You guys should know, because go back and watch it if you haven't seen it yet. It's on YouTube. All right, time's up. You guys probably saw that Kurtz achieved victory over Mail, so the winner of this set, whether it is Jabba or whether it is Sadlysius, will be against Kurtz for a spot in the main event. We're just waiting on the second game. Let me just confirm that has not started. It has not. Just waiting for game 2. That was a longer game 1. Two stally teams, I guess like little more mid-rangey for Sadly, but definitely a defensive team. And Jabba's wasn't like hard stall, but that is definitely a stallier team. I'm still really surprised and impressed that Jabba managed to bust that out. Like I said, that's not his style. It's a cool squad that I wouldn't have been able to predict from him. And I don't know if that throws off Sadly's prep or what. It's got to be in his head, right? Sadly at this point is going to be thinking, man, Jabba's really willing to change it up to that degree. He kind of countered me to that degree. Hariyama is like really tough against my usual. And man, he busted out that janky CM flamethrower HP Grass Bliss. That mon sucks. I haven't seen that thing in years. Like, what are you doing against that? How do you go into game 2 against that? I think you have to just put it behind you and default to your comfort if you're Sadlysius. You cannot be thrown off by this game 1. The Jabba, I think, won pretty soundly. Sadly had like a little bit of an opportunity at the end, but basically everything in the world would have to have gone the right way. And it just didn't. That game didn't feel super close at the end of the day. Would have finished as a 5-0 had it played out. Quite a pause here. Bathroom break or talk to my friends. What the fuck do I bring in this next game break? I don't know. Interesting stuff here as we wait for game 2. It's going to take as long as it takes. That is the beauty of the live narration. Sometimes they get right into it. Sometimes it takes a minute. I'm going to be right here with you one way or another. Who's still in here? Altina, Crashing Boom Bang, Kratos Mana, Tony, Disno, Watermass. You guys know these guys. Hey, it's a game 2. Alright, here we are. So, Trainer Orange is Jabba, as you know. JabbaTheGriffin, to be precise. And Sadlysius is Sadlysius. Dexa pronounces it Sadlysius. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but either way, that's what we got. And Jabba, again, just, what is this? This isn't a Jabba team. Snorlax, huh? Snorlax that he's allowing to get Will-O-Wisped? I don't know about all that. But we'll see how it plays out. Sadly this looks kind of like an M-Dragon or a Linear kind of team. I know that both Dragon and Linear are a fan of Gengar on non-Spiked teams. I don't necessarily feel the same way. That was a really good Shadow Ball, by the way. I think that Sadly anticipated a self-destruct and went to the Gengar for that reason, only to be killed by Shadow Ball. Now Boom comes down, so man, terrible start for Sadly and really good start for Jabba here. 2-for-1 value straight up from the Lax. And now Boom as well. Straight up 4-3 advantage, 7 turns in for Jabba. He's not going to love seeing Kingdra here. But Boom with a crit is going to be good. That's a relevant crit that would not have killed Dirachi without it. We've got a Boom spam team from Jabba. And here is Kingdra. I don't know that I love this decision. Dragon Claw does a ton, but not enough. Rain Dance is going to make him faster here. Here's a Coon coming in on what is going to be an obvious Ice Beam. Now does Kingdra have HP Grass or HP Electric, but I don't know that it's enough even if he does. And Coon is not afraid. He's just going to Calm Mind up. Crit going to be necessary, and he gets it, but it's just shy. But it's going to be negated by a Rest here. Are we looking at a Rest Talker or a Roar Poke? And he's going to need another crit. He does have Sleep Talk and finds the Surf. That is Ultra Mega 4X resisted by the Kingdra, but the Rain is gone. Another Hidden Power. Doesn't go for Sleep Talk that turn. Why not? I don't get why he didn't go for Sleep Talk that turn, but he's going to Calm Mind up anyway. That just seems straight up a mistake. I don't get why he did that, but here we are. And sadly, going with the same damn strategy as last game, which is to pray for a freeze. Jabba can negate that strategy by simply resting and making it so Ice Beam cannot freeze him while he's asleep, but he's going to need to get bailed by some kind of hacks here. Kingdra down. Last poke is going to have to get it done, and it is Dugtrio. We are already done here. Earthquake, even with a max roll, kill the Coon. Wouldn't beat both Coon and Salamence. This one way the hell faster than the previous. Jabba going to roll over Sadlysius. Not super close. Doesn't even reveal his last poke. Last game took a half hour. This one took half a minute. Jabba with the victory 2-0 over Sadlysius. He is going to be against Kurtz in the finals of the Aqua bracket for a spot in the main event of CALLOUS Invitational. Jabba is changing it up, adjusting from his usual, and it shows. Look at that. It is a one hell of a match that I am super duper looking forward to. Jabba against Kurtz, Aqua bracket finals happening next week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Sadlysius with a decent run. Great showing to beat Techless. Thank you for participating in this. Thumbs up, guys, if you enjoyed the video and have been enjoying the tournament so far. I will see you next week.